Hello! In this video we will take a look at slide frame. We will talk about what slide frame is and why do we use slide frame. We will also take a look on the theory of how your admins are setting the slide frame, so you have a bit more knowledge about this and you can passively set your own slide frame and then just confirm with the admin if that is correct. And we will show also a small example of how to set the guides properly, so you will be able to follow the consistent slide frame throughout your file. So let's start. Usually in our client's guidelines there is already a slide like this or similar that is marking the correct slide frame area, just like this box in here. So then the only thing you need to do is really to follow the slide frame perfectly and make sure that all the elements and shapes inside of the slide frame area are really pixel perfect aligned to the top, bottom and the sides of the slide frame. Why do we do this is because we want to create consistency not only in one slide but also across the slides. So when we are going from one slide to another and another, all the elements that are in the content area should not move up and down or to the sides. Just like we don't want our title to be moving throughout the slides, we want to achieve the same consistency with the contents in the slide frame area. So now here we have just a small example of how that looks. You can see all the shapes are perfectly aligned to the guides that are marking the slide frame. So nothing is really going out of the guides, or there is no space like that would be not like aligned perfectly to the guide. So this would be wrong. So just always make sure that everything perfectly touches the guides. Now let's take a look on how your admins proceed if there is no slide frame to the template. So as I said, this is really just to help you to understand this process, and it can help you then to create your own slide frame in case you would be on the project that would not have the slide frame. Then you can proactively create the slide frame and send it to your admin and just ask for confirmation if that is correct. And if yes, then you are free to continue and use it for all the slides. So there are a few points that we are trying to follow or that helps us to create the slide frame. So point number 1. We are usually looking at the template if there are already created some PowerPoint guides, because they many times mark the correct slide frame. So as you can see in this slide, here are these dashed lines that are marking this area. And as it all makes visually sense because there is equal space from the edges of the slide, then there is nice space from the title, from the logo at the bottom. This really is great place for our slide frame. So then you can just mark this area and just confirm is this the correct slide frame area, and if admin confirms, then just go ahead and continue using it. Point 2. If there is not really any guides, we can go to check the layouts. Layouts you can find in this, and let's take a look at this layout we have. You can see there is just one guide, but that guide really does not help us to identify what the slide frame is. But in this case, the placeholder pretty well marks the slide frame area because again, there is equal spacing and so on. There is quite a lot of space for the footer area, so the slide frame could be slightly adjusted down if we have very content heavy slides. But again, this is good guide for how to identify what the slide frame is. Point 3. If there is no guidelines with a specific slide frame, go to check the inspiration file to see what is the usual slide frame we use for this template, and then in case there would be few more inconsistencies, then just use the most common one from there. And again, just fastly confirm with your admin and then you are ready to go. Point number 4. check the input file. Is there any pattern of how the content is placed? Because especially when we work only on few slides of the file, we should try to match the slide frame of the other slides. So again, our slides are consistent throughout, and we do not create just some set of new slides that are in totally different slide frame as the other slides that we do not work on. Now, point 5. In majority of templates, we aim to have equal space on the left and right. So just as you can see here, if here is the space of 1 centimeter, then we aim to have the same equal space on this side, just so it looks visually pleasing. And on this topic, kind of nicely follows also topic 6, which says that slide frame on the left and right usually matches the title placeholder if it's well defined in the master. So that as well you can see in this slide. The guides are nicely following the edges of the title placeholder box, because then again everything is nicely aligned from the side of the slide. Last point, point 7. In case you are creating the slide frame really from the scratch, you should consider how many lines for the title and subtitle you will use. So scan your input and check how many lines you will have. Also, I suggest to not only check it in the input, but find the most heavy title, subtitle, and footer and copy paste it to your new template that you will use, because there might be a change of the font and font size. So what might have looked as a one line in the old template, when you are converting to new one, suddenly you will find out that you have 2 lines because the font size in the new template is slightly bigger or so. So make sure to check these things so you set your slide frame correctly, and you don't have to be adjusting it in the middle of the project, which would then cause some rework. As well, the same goes for the footer. As you know, for some clients, we have quite big footers, and then what we do to keep consistency in all slides, we push the slide frame at the bottom a bit up, so then we have enough space for the footer, but we can keep consistency in all slides the same. In all cases, if you would be setting your own slide frame, please just go ahead and confirm with your admin. Just send one slide with the marked slide frame and ask if that is correct. If you are really unsure about this whole setting of the slide frame, just ask your admin to provide you with slide frame if there is not any in the project, and we will definitely help you out. Now let's take a look on fast explanation of guides for easier work with slide frame. There are generally 2 types of guide, and first is the type that is set in the master slide. As a default, we do not add these guides into the client's template unless we are creating the template from the scratch, or we specifically agreed with client that we will somehow modify the slide master. So generally, do not add such a guide unless your admin would ask you. So these guides are usually colorful, just like these ones, red or orange, and you can't move them if you are trying to drag on them because they are set in the slide master. But what you should do, if there are not set such guides, you should set your own guides, but not in the slide master, but on just regular slide level, like in here. You can just right click wherever, and then you go to grid and guides, and you just add your vertical and horizontal guide. And then you will just, by dragging them, you will just mark your slide frame as you need. What you need to be careful about is that these guides are easily moved, and therefore if you will move it in the middle of the working on the project, then you might start to follow wrong slide frame, because you will still follow it, but you kind of misplaced the line. So in next example, I will show you how to set your guides the way that then you can return to slide that will kind of keep you in the correct position. So let's check this slide. It is just some random new template that has this content placeholder, but as you can see, there is only one guide set. Doesn't really show what really slide frame should be other than this content placeholder. So as I said, the content placeholder is a good thing to follow if it looks visually nicely, matches the title, and so on. So we can follow this in creating our slide frame. I will mark the top of this content placeholder. Then just by pressing the Ctrl, I will copy the guide. And in case I would have very content heavy slides in the slide frame area, I can put my slide frame a bit lower, because let's say if my footers are only one line, then I do not need all this space, and I can rather use the white space more efficiently for the content, so we can have higher font size and so on. But if my footer would be really huge, then I could again adjust the slide frame at the bottom according to whatever I need. So let's say that in this case I decide that my slide frames should end in here. Now I will adjust the sides. In here you can see that the position of this guide is 12.6 on the left side, and what I would aim for when creating slide frame is that it will be in the same position also in the right side. So it should be again 12.6. So by this you can see that this template is created equally on both sides. So that is also kind of good guide that this is nicely created slide frame. And one more thing, sometimes when you need to move your guide a bit more precisely, but it does not really allow you, then just press Alt and then you can do much smaller moves with your guide. So you can try that trick. Now that you have marked your slide frame, you can delete this content placeholder and just take whatever box and try to adjust that box to those guides. At this point, I would send this to my admin to confirm if I can go ahead and use this. If admin said yes, then I will keep this slide as my slide number 1. And then I will just copy this slide, and only this next slide will be the slide where I will be converting. So whatever work I will be doing in here, I can align everything to my guides, and if by any chance I would move some guide and I could not notice it, in here it's quite easy to spot because this box is kind of guiding you currently. But let's say if you would move your bottom line, it's hard to notice, and then you could start to follow wrong slide frame and you would not notice. But since you kept this first slide, you can once a while kind of return back to this slide and just check if your guides are still in the correct position. So now I would see that, oh no, it's not anymore aligned to this yellow box. So then you can again correct it and work correctly again. So this way, as you can see, no matter how many slides I will add, my guides will stay, therefore I can consistently follow the same slide frame. I hope this presentation helped you in understanding the slide frame and importance of it, and how to set your guides so you can do consistent slides. So thank you for your attention.